We are transitioning from the conversation around terrorism and terrorist financing to organized crime as it relates to the theft of crude oil. You will agree with me that it's one problem that has burdened the country for so many decades, and it will appear that as at now, we are still a little bit short of solutions to what appears to be a very intractable and insidious problem. Crude oil theft, with its enormous consequences on our economy, it's something that is worrying to all of us.
Crude oil theft, the story of it, goes to so much to the heart of the matter. The state is weak. Our nation is weak. And because our nation is weak, it's immunocompromised if you treat it as an organism. And it sounds like a parody. By 2022, Nigeria was broke and yet losing trillions of dollars to oil thieves. So it hired mercenaries and called them private security contractors, ostensibly to help the military and others look after the crude oil trunk lines. In September 2022, the mercenaries discovered a 4-kilometer pipe inserted into the Trans-Escravos pipeline to divert crude oil. That illegal connection had been in use for 9 years. That illegal connection looped onto the Afremo test line, went all the way to the sea to the Afremo terminal. Afremo ordinarily pumps crude oil to Escravos, so it's not used for export. But here, the thieves diverted crude oil to it to do export.
In 2019, there was a National Economic Council, an ad hoc committee on crude oil theft, prevention and control in 2019. And as pointed out by the speaker, the Special Investigative Panel on Crude Oil Theft / Losses in Nigeria, of which report is laying in government tables.
The oil theft has a lot of repercussion. It has economic repercussion, it has social repercussion, it has also environmental repercussion. We all know that the oil theft that we are talking about is not done by small thefts. It is done by big multinational corporations with their collaborators. And therefore, if we are serious and committed to dealing with this matter, I think we should declare a serious national emergency to minimize the cost of oil theft that has seriously depleted our revenue.
The office of the NSA came up with an idea. It set up a special investigative panel. That was what they called it. The panel was handed a wide license to discover the Afremo thieves and all other crude oil thieves, past and present, regardless of status. The terms of reference included explaining the role of security agencies, foreigners, politicians in oil theft, and recommending sanctions. The panel was supposed to review the security architecture around oil installations and recommend changes. The government gave the panel 6 weeks to submit its report. The government appeared serious and in a hurry. The panel submitted the report in February 2023. The government had 3 months to work on the report before its exit date in May. Did it do anything? Well, I don't know. The new government has a report. Nothing has happened yet. 1 year, one whole year after the nation woke up to the earth-shaking scandal, Nobody, none that I know, has been arrested. The Trans-Escravos pipe scandal has gone cold. All that happens is daily lamentations of crude oil theft, and we're here to contribute our tears.
In 2001, the Special Security Committee on oil-producing areas set up by Obasanjo's administration to identify those behind the illegal oil bunkering noted in its report that a major threat of Nigeria's oil industry arises from activities of a cartel or mafia, which comprises highly placed and powerful individuals within the society, running a network of agents to steal crude and finished produce from pipelines in the Niger Delta region, and could possibly be enjoying the patronage of some retired or top-serving military and security personnel, political allies of government who benefited from the illicit oil business and have persistently frustrated efforts by the international community to assist Nigeria fight the culprits.
There is a relationship between oil theft and the political process. That is, every ruling party in raising funds, they have a network. And if you look at the trajectory of leadership in the Niger Delta region, both those who were former criminals, who have now turned to king, who have now turned to chiefs, who now find their way to Aso Rock. So you can see the legitimacy of criminality in Nigeria.
In 2017, the Navy arrested a vessel, MT Technic, and 10 persons, 2 Nigerians, 8 foreigners. The vessel has had 1,900 metric tons of crude. The authorities then believed the crude was stolen from a framer because it could only be a framer. The same terminal, the EFCC charged the suspects to court. And then in 2022, 5 years after, that drama yielded nothing. It's been September 2022. This is October 2023. Where's the case? The panel has submitted the report. Where's the report? The native man that was here yesterday actually said, and it's public information, that all the recommendations, plus the ones we're discussing here today, they are in that report. All the recommendations to solve crude oil theft are in the report. The report that followed the panel that was instituted at taxpayers' cost to sort out this issue. The report is there. Who's attending to it?
Something is wrong. There is internal connivance that the elites who have conspired to make life difficult in this country are benefiting.
When you look at these two problems, culture of impunity and leadership problem, who solves the problem? It brings us to the old questions about the relationship between society and the state. And for you to attain liberty or prosperity for the country, either the state is too strong and the people, the citizens, are too weak. So in the case of Nigeria, the lead presenter presented the affordable platform issues as a classical case. And I like to reinforce that classical case of where we are because it's a phenomenon of the oil cost phenomenon.
The political will to deal with this is where we are lacking. And because of the chicken change that the multinational corporations are giving to our elites, they will rather continue to lose 95% of what should be coming to Nigeria than the 5% that they will share in to themselves. They glorify that 5% more than the 95% that we are losing. So something is wrong with our own political elite in this country.
This money you are talking about stealing finds their way into our different pockets. It depends where your pocket is. And so in moving forward, there are two things we must put into consideration. That the way the state is currently reconfigured, it cannot provide solution for himself. And the solution relies on the citizens. And the citizens must begin to galvanize themselves, act, build coalitions, build collective actions, and begin to look for an entry point. And it can start in our different villages. It can start from our different towns. It can start from the youth service, because there is corruption everywhere. There's corruption in the church. There's corruption at every square. But it is easy to point finger. But when you look internally, you find out that the problem is a cultural thing.
This one, illegal permits, this is where a vessel comes in to a place it should not come. And then loads like you were permitted to come and load. It happens. Politicians sometimes, I won't name names, they raise funds through crude oil, illegal crude oil allocations. And in doing these things, because these things have to pass through the military hierarchy, you send a message, send a wrong message, that what belongs to the country belongs to you. It's your personal property. You're sharing it just like banana. You send a vessel to go and load in the creeks. You pass an instruction that it should be allowed to load. Vessel has no papers.
This is a collective action problem. The person whose responsibility is to address a problem is himself a problem. So how do you go from there?
Some couple of years, House of Representatives did the same thing that the National Assembly now want to do on this all, investigation of the oil theft thing. We gather, put memorandum, brought all sort of credible information that will aid government and the National Assembly. That's never go anywhere. So the problem is not about these researches and all these evidences. They are there, they know them.
One of the reasons why convictions have been a little bit difficult when you catch these vessels is that people are interested in the crude oil in the vessel. So if you're interested in the crude oil in the vessel, what happens? You allow, or somehow, the crude oil disappears, and then somebody pumps water to replace it to the volume that it was before. So by the time the convict gets to court, he says he wasn't carrying crude oil. Then you now send people to go and test. Then what you test is water. And that is why this thing started happening, because a lot of the vessels that were coming, they had been caught before. You catch a vessel in 2013, you catch it again in 2015, it's released by a court, you catch it again in 2018. So the government had said, okay, we'll catch it once, we'll destroy it. But these things have other implications. This damages the environment. This is not how to sort out the issue.
Military are everywhere. The Navy are everywhere. But it will surprise you. How is it possible that oil theft still happens? The reason why it happens is that it's the culture of impunity. Impunity fits into our system. And because our government is also a beneficiary of this impunity, otherwise, you have seen the Niger Delta NDDC, there was a forensic audit of NDDC. Report came out, and they indicted key people. And today, some of those key people are now heading the National Assembly. They are now heading the Federal Ministry of Executive. And as we speak today, in Abacha's time, Abacha regime alone, over $4 to $5 billion left this country. And one of the key actors that facilitated the movement of those money is currently a minister in this government. So where do we go? This is the dilemma we face.
The problem still remains. Some collaboration appears to be taking place between certain agents in the security forces that help to facilitate this. And now the problem has been compounded because even the few people that are supposed to be arrested and prosecuted, it's either the prosecution is done haphazardly or light sentences are issued. There is no clear indication as to what assets or monies that have been recovered from such people. Is it a problem of our law? Is it the problem of our courts? Or is it the problem of our lack of appreciating the magnitude of this problem? So it is still there.
NATE reviewed 25 crude oil theft convictions by the EFCC. The convictions involved 103 individuals, 6 companies, and 1 vessel. 35 were sentenced to 2 years imprisonment with options of fines between 50,000 and 100,000 naira. 6 convicts were handed 1 year custodial sentence with options of fine between 100,000 and 1 million naira. 59 convicts were fined just 100,000 naira. Only 1 person got a custodial sentence of 1 year without an option of fine. The 3 companies were fined 500,000 naira. The other 3 companies were fined 1 million naira. The vessel was fined 5 million naira. But these convictions were not even for direct crude oil theft. They are for refined products. Now, MT Mongolia happened recently. Was arrested in 2015. 12 persons were charged by the police, this time the police. 5 years later, the Office of the Attorney General moved for a plea bargain. The suspects came to court. The plea bargain was for fines of 2,000 naira. The judge screamed. The theft, the quantity of product there was about 200 million naira. They were stealing 200 million naira worth of crude oil. They were caught. 5 years later, the Attorney General recommended a plea bargain for fine of 2,000 naira.
Talking about the laws that are weak, these laws are obsolete. We have the Miscellaneous Offences Act. That Miscellaneous Offences Act was enacted in the year 1984. The Petroleum Act was enacted in the year 1969. So this law did not envisage the magnitude or the proportion at which this oil theft is happening now. And we're talking about the dynamics of crude oil theft from economic to a complex organized crime. So if it has graduated from a mere petty, artisanal refining of crude oil and selling by the local communities or the locals to really a complex organized crime, then the law has to be looked at again to address the weaknesses in the laws. And obviously, the courts cannot go outside the laws, the sanctions provided in the laws. Even though, for instance, Miscellaneous Offences Act, you can say the law calls a life imprisonment. But that life imprisonment is the maximum. The judge can give one year. Depending on the circumstances, can give 3 months, may not even give a life sentence. And we've not had cases where life imprisonment was given. So that is part of it. The laws have to be looked at.
And the legislations are there. But maybe I might, when you mentioned them very light, like slaps on the wrist, 2,000 naira fine, that could be occasioned by obsolete legislations. And I'll just give you a few that are in place. There's what they call the Petroleum Production and Distribution Anti-Sabotage Act 1975. This contains provisions against pipeline vandalization and sabotage. You have another one, 1978, called the Exclusive Economic Zone Act. This one empowers officials to curtail access to the waters around our oil wells. You also have the Crude Oil Transportation and Shipment Regulation of 1984, which measures and seeks to prevent ships and tankers from engaging in authorized loading of crude oil.
Who are the actors? Small scale, medium scale, large scale, by now you know them. The artisanal refineries at the base of the pyramid, they're the smallest fries, but they're the most visible. The NNPC said in a pipe spanning 200 kilometers, they found 295 illegal taps. Most of these taps feed artisanal refineries. They've been allowed to mushroom in the last few years. By the placement of this alone, it's illegal. This is how you don't divert from this kind of trunks. This is the site of an illegal refinery. The holes that you see are the reservoirs that they use. The tanks are not there. There are some that have the tanks. But you can see that they have barbed all the palm trees. They've destroyed the palm trees. And what you see floating here, the residues, the illegal refining mechanism is crude. So it doesn't take much from the crude oil. And then he leaves the criminal with quite a lot of shit to handle. And then he leaves it there. It damages the land, damages the seas, kills the fishes, kills the crops, damages everything. If we continue the way we're going, you cannot stop crude oil theft. You cannot delegitimize the misconceptions of the man in the creeks. You can't. The leadership cannot be preaching sacrifice to the poor, and you are duplicating jobs and throwing them around political appointments. A governor somewhere has more than 150 media aides, 40-something media aides. The presidency now has so many media aides, you don't even know their names. Every time the National Assembly meets, it's talking about their own comfort. There are some things that other politicians and other clients have learned. Positive symbolism. Show us some empathy. Show the people some empathy, which means you might even pretend that you are with them.
We are still in the process of finding solutions to a big problem that concerns all of us. Frustrating as it appears at this time, we will continue to push, we will continue to talk about it, we will continue to bring new perspectives to the whole problem, and we do hope that sooner than later, the problem will begin to come down. Once a problem is on the table and you to discuss it, definitely solutions will come at the middle of the road. Let me use this opportunity to thank the speaker, the lead speaker, all the discussants for their very wonderful contributions. And you, the wonderful audience, I thank you very sincerely for staying put. You have a great day.